Happy Wednesday, y'all. Happy Wednesday. Let's see if I can get this right. Making the case. Hey, you guys. Welcome to Making the Case. I'm so excited to have you guys here. We've been having this go with regularity for like the past 6 months, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We've been blessed to have guests come from all over the country, from all different walks of life, to share their stories, share their expertise, and also to share their journeys to be able to inspire you guys wherever you are on your journey. We're sending prayers and positive vibes to my folks out there that are just doing the bar, sending prayers and positive vibes out there to the folks who are still waiting to get off that wait list. And you know we sending prayers and positive vibes to everybody out there who's had the dream of becoming a lawyer and are starting their journey. Prayers and positive vibes your way. As our room fills up, I want you guys to let us know where it is that you're viewing our session from. Of course, you know I'm holding it down over here in Missouri. It's not my favorite place to be, but it's where God has me, at least for the moment. Let me know where it is that you're viewing our session from. What's going on, Legally Barbie? What's going on, Rajay? What's going on, Jonathan? What's going on, Armani? What's going on, Miss Nisi? As our room fills up, let us know where it is that you're viewing our session from. Yo, this is the last day of July, y'all. And with July being over, man, it's real fall time, y'all. We got football in effect, and also that means we got lawyer journeys about to start back in effect. We got the Bahamas in the house. What's up? We got Birmingham. What's going on? And of course, my second home, South Carolina. What's up? How we doing? Arizona. What's up? Ventura, California. What's up? How y'all doing? As our room fills up, I hope you guys can get the energy. I know it's been a long week, but I hope you guys are able to find this as being a place that you can come to be able to get answers, comfort, and also, of course, get security and inspiration on your journey. Becoming JD, of course, has been here since 2019. In that time, we've helped over 350 people get into law school, and it's a streak that I want us to continue to keep rolling out. And we're now doing this thing where we do every Wednesday at 8, where we share stories to help you guys become inspired, to also to help you guys learn how to connect and see and view and talk to people who look like you, doing what you want to do. What's going on, Joanna? How we doing, sis? And so we had this past week, we had more people get into law school. And so it's an exciting experience. And I know next week we're going to be having a guest on who's going to be talking about the JD next. We're going to be talking about a different pathway for you to be able to go to law school. Because listen, fam, at the end of the day, there's more than one way to go to law school. And I want to make sure that when you guys take that step, wherever you are in that journey, you're equipped with the tools and skills that you need to succeed. What's going on, John? How we doing, Josie? What's up? And so let us know where you're viewing our session from. And also, one of the things that I always try to pledge to you guys is no matter where you are in your journey, I want this to be a space where you guys are able to come to get answers and also, of course, be able to get direction. So, hey, if what we're talking about today may not be something that you are currently at in your life or in your journey, I want this to be a place where you could drop a question in the chat box and we're going to give you your answers. I swear for God, if you put a question in the chat box, I swear for everything, that I'm definitely going to answer it. You guys, I'm really excited about the guests that we have coming on. I remember when I was going through trying to find guests, and this amazing sister literally was all over the internet with her amazing accomplishment. Her name is Charise, doing big things down in Florida, and I'm really excited to have an opportunity for you guys to get an opportunity to speak with her. Again, remember how I roll with things. What's going on, Samantha? What's going on, Gerald? I love this to be a space, not for you just to be able to watch, but also for you guys to ask questions. I want you to really ask and explore, to figure out what she did to navigate her journey to making history. Because, fam, at the end of the day, everybody that we have on here, they are giving you guys the blueprint to end up where they are. And guess what? That blueprint they're giving out to you because they want to see you win too. Because at the end of the day, it's all a family. It's all a tribe. We're all here planting seeds to help you guys navigate your journey. So make sure to stay tuned. And let's go ahead and get Miss Charise on. And let's get to popping. Oh, we already got a question in the chat. Awesome. Okay. And so it's GPA. Okay, so Jared, we got your question. Is GPA determine whether you get accepted or not? What is going on, my sister? How we doing, Miss President? I think I got you. I think we can't hear you. I think maybe you got your Bluetooth on. I can't hear you, sis. Is it me? Oh, no, it may be me. Let me go check. 1 second. All right, cool. Hello, hello. All right. All right, awesome. Can you guys hear? Can you guys hear Charise? It's technology in today. Yeah, they said they can't hear you. Okay, now I don't want to. No, not yet. The Bluetooth connections. I know I just literally have to cut my Bluetooth off. You got all these people. They're ready to hear you, sis. That's awesome. That's a blessing. That's awesome. That's a blessing. So you guys, again, as can y'all Sharice, can you all right, can y'all hear Sharice or no? Nothing. So how about this? I'm gonna keep them warm. You can try to, you know how we do where we from. Cut the phone off, cut it back on, and see if it works. And also cut off your Bluetooth too to make sure. I know I had to cut mine off too. And so you disconnect and reconnect, and we're gonna be right here waiting for you. All right, y'all. Listen, fam, in this business, tech be teching. And at the end of the day, this is another example of us having to demonstrate perseverance and willingness to be able to do whatever it takes to make it happen. Don't worry, Smooth 2 for you. She coming back. She coming back. And I'm really excited about this. This is a great opportunity for you guys. Yo, sis made history, y'all. And for you to make history, that means that this is a person that I want every last person on this chat to make sure that you get these gems and get these receipts. We have been so blessed to have amazing guests who've come on to share their amazing stories. We've had Africa come on. We've had judges come on. And so utilize this as a space for you guys to get answers. I mean, literally, you guys, in the state of Florida, this year has been unprecedented in regards to the amounts of strides that so many amazing women have been able to make in regards to not just with this particular bar association, with the Florida Bar Association, and also with the Supreme Court at the University of Florida. And so literally we're seeing people who are saying, hey, normalizing our presence and understanding that they're also setting breadcrumbs for you guys to be able to learn, walk, and follow. I want you guys to be able to understand we are going to be in a space where you may be one of few. But guess what, fam? The only way it stays a place as one of few is if people choose not to take that step and to be that one of few and turn back and provide opportunities for you guys to be the next to come forward. And so I want you guys to oftentimes in this space to not be discouraged. Understand, I know for me, what I love to do is I love to look towards history. And I know Throwback Thursdays, I oftentimes did posts of people in history who've made tremendous strides. What's going on, Laurel? What's going on, Legally Bright? And I want you guys to be able to understand that on this journey at times, it can feel like you're by yourself. What's going on, Nadine? But understand that you're not alone. I hope we've been able to create a wonderful community here with the Coming JD, where you're able to literally see people doing what you want to do, who look like you, who come from your backgrounds, who come from your city, who eat at the same restaurants you eat at, as an opportunity for you to realize and have permission within your own self to be able to understand, I could do this. I can manifest this. Yeah, when I look out there, I may not see people who look like me doing this, but you know what? I can do that. All right. By us normalizing our presence in all rooms, that's how we're able to understand the power that we have in order to elevate and move forward. And I hope we've been able to create a wonderful platform for that. And I cannot wait for you guys to be able to talk to Charise. But until Charise gets here, y'all, I did have a question. I want you guys to fill my chat box up with questions. We had one question from Gerard that I want to ask while we wait for her to come back on. And I appreciate her coming back on because Hey, she could have just said, nah, it's not working and get off. But she said she wants to make sure you can talk to you guys. So Gerard wanted to ask, is GPAs determine whether you get accepted? No. GPAs is one of many tools that law schools use to evaluate candidates. Am I right, legally bright? But at the end of the day, I tell you the facts. And I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I'm not going to give you no textbook answer. If law schools like you, they will find a way to accept you. Facts. If you're able to demonstrate to law schools, if giving an opportunity that you could be successful, they will give you an opportunity. Now, how do you do that, Gerard? You do that with your essays. You do that with your letters. You do that with your passion. You do that also by letting them know in your resume that you are one of one. Now, listen, fam, there's people out there that's going to have the GPAs that you got. People out there going to have the degrees that you got. But you're only one person. And one of the things I tell people is that every law school in the country, every last law school, my T14s and my IB2, they've accepted somebody that had supposed low LSAT scores. They've accepted somebody who's had supposed low GPAs. But the reason why they accepted them is because they demonstrated an ability to be able to do the work. Now, listen, fam, one of the things I tell people, oftentimes we find ourselves comparisons being the thief of joy. We've heard that quote, right? Oftentimes on this journey, we find ourselves oftentimes self-sabotaging ourselves by getting discouraged because we think because we didn't have a 170, because we didn't have a 3.8 GPA, that we can't get into law school. Well, you know, having a 170 and a 3.8 will definitely make the job easier. But I would personally think that everybody on this chat could personally say that everything that they've had to work hard for, they've appreciated and valued more. So if you're willing to accept it, if you want to go to law school and it's going to be hard to be able to navigate that space, then you're already halfway done. That means because the hard work is something that you're prepared for. The hard work is something that you're ready to do. I know there's a very, very long-winded way to answer that question, but no, it's not just about GPA. It's really about your whole package, okay? So let's see. Any other questions while we wait for her to join us? Let's see. I had one in the chat box here. I want to go to law. I was dismissed in 2023. I want to go back to law school. Should I retake the LSAT? Actually, I'm going to give an unpopular opinion, but it may be the opinion that I think is the most relevant. Of course, for you guys who are first in the chat, I was dismissed from law school back in 2009. And I did not get back into law school because I retook the LSAT because I refused to. I got back into law school. It really came down to my addendum. Oftentimes what you have to be able to understand, if you know what the biggest elephant in the room is, then you have to make sure that you're emphasizing and placing a lot of time on really focusing on your addendum. For people who've been dismissed from law school, literally the most important part of your application is going to be your addendum and also going to be the letters of recommendations that are talking about who you are now and the changes and transformations you've made since you've been dismissed. I know this cycle, I think we got 11 people who were dismissed from law school back into law school. Literally, that's one of the reasons why I created this platform, was because for a lot of dismissed students out there that want to get back in, there's nothing available for you. And so instead of looking for someone to do it, we created Becoming JD to become that source. So let's see here. 901 Shout Out said, I worked real hard on my GPA. That's excellent. The GPA is going to be one tool that the law school needs you to be able to evaluate you. But understand that GPA alone is not going to be what determines if you get into law school or not. Why? Because there's about 75,000 people that apply to law school every year, right? The average GPA for people who apply to law school is between 3.3 and 3.5. So if you're looking at the averages, that means that it's going to be very hard. You cannot just bank on your GPA as being the sole reason why law school's going to accept you, right? Because they're looking for other factors. Oftentimes because undergrad is not very comparable to how successful you're going to be in law school. That's why they unfortunately use the imperfect test, which is the LSAT. And I'm sure you know my thoughts about that. All right, so I have another question. Have a 2.8, taking the LSAT in September, getting final grades by December. I think I can get at least a 3.0 by then. Should I wait to apply or apply early by November with my current GPA? Oftentimes what I tell people, and I want you guys to think about this phrase, and I'm sure people in my box who, I'm sure Smooth for you, definitely you've heard me say this before. And that is this. Law schools only know what you share with them. And so oftentimes what I tell you guys in these situations, one of the things we become very reluctant to doing, you guys, is really, how do I say this? It's really picking up the phone and calling. I mean, we've really gotten to the point where we're reluctant to being able to do that. And in these particular situations where you may have a unique circumstance, understand this, that law schools are not one size fits all. And oftentimes when you're making a decision, especially with your money and the amounts that you guys are invested in this process, you want to make sure that you're doing what the law school wants. And so what I oftentimes recommend in that particular situation, you guys, is that you contact the law school and explain the specific situation. Hey, I got a 2.8. Should I go ahead and submit my app and you guys will hold it until December, or should I wait? Every law school's decision, every law school may view the situation differently. Now, one of the things that's going to be important for you, if you do have a GPA that's going to be below, what's going on, Soul by Drew? If you have a GPA that's going to be below, unfortunately, the 3.0, you have to understand that law school's going to have some questions. Because unfortunately, well, law school's a lot more challenging than undergrad. And so law schools are going to want to know, okay, what happened to cause you to have less than a 3.0 GPA? And that explanation is going to be something that you're going to have to provide. Now, listen, fam, having a GPA below a 3.0 does not mean you can't get into law school. We got people in law school this past cycle that had 2.0s. But what's going to matter is your explanation. And one of the things I jokingly but seriously tell you guys is think about it, fam. In this process, if you want to be a lawyer, the first person that you got to learn to be an advocate for is who? Yourself. And literally this application process is your first time advocating for yourself. And everybody sits just like it is when you have a case. Every circumstance, every case is going to be different. However, there is a blueprint that you are able to navigate in order to get to the desired outcome, right? We can sit here and complain about our case being horrible. Man, I had a dismissal. Man, I had a 0.6. Man, I had a W. Man, I had an F. But this is your case. And the first case for you, you're going to be your first client. And you're going to have to advocate fiercely for yourself. But the best thing about this process, Nina, is that if you're advocating for yourself, that means you know your strengths. And you also honestly know the things that you have to do to make things better. Oftentimes where people go wrong, what's going on, Jamie, when we do our letter, when we do our addendums, is we just unfortunately just tell people, I messed up. Well, that's great. But what they're really looking for your addendums, if you have a GPA below 3.0, if in fact you may have had some imperfect past where you made some troubles, and that includes sealed records, you guys, too. Anything that could potentially show up in a background check, anything that could potentially show up, hey, even if it happened when you were a juvenile, even if it was expunged, you want to utilize your addendum as a way to demonstrate transparency and growth, and utilize it as space to be able to, let me say that again, transparency, growth. And your addendum is not just about identifying what went wrong. It's also about utilizing that space to be able to provide law schools with the assurance that, guess what? It's not going to happen again. When I got dismissed from law school back in 2009, and I was trying to get back into law school, the addendum was the hardest thing I ever wrote in my life. Harder than any law school final, because I had to sit back and evaluate myself and say, what do I need to do to be better? What did I do wrong? And I had to take complete responsibility. And also then shall provide assurances of what I'm going to do to ensure that it didn't happen again. It was hard. It took me about 2 months to write it. I got into 10 law schools with it. And so for your addendum, that's what you're going to have to be able to do. You're going to, just like as a lawyer, you're going to have to convince the jury to get in law school. We're going to have to convince admissions officers. All right, Nina got some questions. Nina says, do you think if someone graduates undergrad 2 years early should apply to law school or wait? And Nina, I actually had a student who did this. I honestly would tell you that it's going to come down to you and your maturity level. I had a student who had two students who did this. They graduated early, was able to do one of those 3-3 programs. Or one student, it was just a lot. It was just a lot. And so you want to be able to ask yourself, are you ready for it? It's going to be a totally different significant adjustment going from graduating from undergrad to going to law school? Are you in a position where you're going to be able to focus solely on your work? Are you going to be open to being receptive to learning? Because, and I'm sure any lawyers on here or any law students on here will attest to you, that literally the hardest part of law school is really unlearning a lot of the bad habits that you had in undergrad. Literally, that's what the biggest challenge is. Oh, we got a girl back, so let's go ahead and pray, cross our fingers, praise God, come on, throw some water over our shoulder. Hope we can get Charise on right quick. Let's see here. Cross fingers, let's go. Oh, we got sound, baby. Biggest challenge.
Can you hear me?
Thank you so much, sis, for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Man, listen, I appreciate it. Thank you. I really do appreciate being reached, and I appreciate whatever was going on with the T-Mobile phone system today.
Hey, you know what? And I tell people, I said, you know, life is going to life, but we still going to rise anyway. And thank you so much for joining us. First, you know, I want to give the formal introduction and give you the floor, let them know who you are and the historic moment that you made out to just in July, actually.
Yeah. So my name is Charise Antoinette Morgan. I live in Miami. I've been a lawyer now for 16 years. I started my practice in Georgia. I went to Mercer School of Law. That was 100 years ago. I graduated from Mercer in 2008 and then practiced labor and employment law in Atlanta for 5 years. Came back to South Florida around 2013, took the bar then, and stayed in Miami and just practiced here. And here I do insurance defense. And then relevant to the conversation, this is July. So this is the last day I can say last month. So last month on June 15th, I was sworn in as the first Black woman president of the Miami-Dade Bar. The Miami-Dade Bar is the largest voluntary bar association in the state of Florida. And I think we're 4th or 5th in the country behind all of the other big states, Texas, New York, California. So we represent about 20,000 lawyers in Miami-Dade County. It's a lot of, frankly, phone calls, answering complaints, responding to our members, providing CLE credit, continuing legal education, providing information to the general public when they reach out to the bar. Because, of course, while our primary or focus is to serve lawyers, we're still members of a community. And Miami-Dade community especially is large and diverse, ever-changing, has thousands of industries that touch Miami. It's transportation, it's hospitality, everything is here. So part of my duties are to make sure that every industry in Miami-Dade County has access to the bar, has access to lawyers, because access to justice, as you know, has always been a big issue for Black lawyers especially, but for the legal profession generally.
Absolutely. You guys got all that. You guys got all that. All right. And one of the things, I want to thank you so much for taking some time to answer some questions. And so I'm going to start with the first question I ask everybody. You're probably going to laugh and say, man, I'm getting some brown sugar vibes here. But this is how I ask my first question I always ask is, when did you fall in love with law?
Oh, it is a brown sugar question.
I told you.
So I fell in love with reading and writing first. I was a weird kid, an introverted kid, and I was always reading and writing, loved it. I've always wanted to be a writer. But you know, I have West Indian parents who tell me you need to find a job that's going to pay real money. So I started to learn about the law, read about the law especially, and that was just reading old law books and reading case law. And I fell in love with reading case law. I love the way that it was written. I love the role of the judge. I love the role of the attorneys, of having to advocate, and how in some cases you can be advocating one position and then in another case be advocating the opposite of that position, because that's how the law is. So this had to have been like pre 10. Yeah, right. Like pre 10 years old. It was reading, writing, and I just loved the way the law sounded. I love the way that it was written. And then as you grow older, you see that the law touches very literally every aspect of life. Just like they say, if you don't know jewelry, you should know your jewelry. You should know your jeweler. Same in the law. So if you're not a lawyer, you need to know a lawyer, because the law touches absolutely everything. So I try to make sure people have access to justice. I know you see those memes about lawyers not wanting their friends and family to reach out for free legal advice. I'd rather you reach out for the free legal advice before you do something I can't undo than after. Exactly.
And the thing that's amazing, what I find so amazing is that oftentimes the seed of our interest in law is planted so early. And
Yeah.
the thing is, what happens is it's like as we grow older, as our knowledge base grows, so does that seed grow. And it takes us, just like the roots takes us in so many different directions.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's oftentimes amazing about it is it's like I feel ultimately end up making a decision is saying like I could either one choose to be a bystander or maybe complain about issues, or I could find a way to get involved and to get in the trenches and be able to one be in the know and be able to find a way to utilize this power to make some impacts. And so I wonder for you, oftentimes on this journey, we have to go through so many changes. And I tell one of the things I try to really share with so many of you guys out there is it's like if you're struggling, that means you're growing. And
Right.
it's a part of the process.
Yeah.
And so what would you say was the one moment where you realized, oh man, I kind of got to make some changes. I got to shed this skin in order to take this next step up.
I got two. So let me tell you, I heard you mention before I got the gift of sound, I heard you mention that there's a big difference between undergrad and law school. And that learning curve for me was steep. It wasn't a curve, it was a right angle. Like it took me so long to understand that what worked in undergrad would not work in law school. I did well in undergrad with very little effort. I was just used to reading and writing. I'd been doing it my entire life. And although I didn't enjoy public speaking, I always have this conversation when I talk to really young kids. I always say, "Can you hear my lisp? Can you hear the way that I pronounce words funny?" That always made me afraid of public speaking, such that I said, "Oh, I'll never be a lawyer. I don't ever want to speak in front of people." So that curve from undergrad to law school was sharp. And one of the things that I had to tighten up quickly was preparation and tardiness. So tardiness, there's always, especially living in South Florida, there's a sort of understanding that there's a 15-minute grace period where you can be late everywhere, or it's always okay to just, oh, I'm running behind. There's areas of the law, particularly in federal court, but even in other state courts, where if you're on time, you're late, right? And you need to get in the habit of being super on time. I had a contracts professor who would lock the door right at 3 p.m. So you showing up at 3:01 and saying, "Oh, well, we haven't yet begun the class," you wouldn't be able to say that to the class because you were standing outside.
Right.
That got me quickly in the habit. And that's first year in a school, in a city, in a state that I didn't know, I didn't grow up in,
Right.
because I had just come to Georgia for law school. So I get there and being locked outside of the class, that was the coldest wake up call. That was literally, oh, I got to tighten up. I got to do better. The other one was in my trial advocacy course. Again, I was already so subconscious about my speaking voice, and I did a very subpar advocacy in a trial, a mock trial, where I kept saying the word tyranny,
Mm-hmm.
tyranny, kept saying it over and over, tyranny, tyranny. And my trial advocacy professor pulled me to the side and whispered, thank God, she was such a decent human being, whispered, "It's tyranny." And you don't know how words are pronounced until you mispronounce them, right? Like the words are just words. We pronounce them that way because that's the way that we're taught how to pronounce them. But I am 100% positive that I have been saying tyranny my entire life until I got to law school. And this trial advocacy professor sort of pulled me aside and was like, "It's tyranny." And that made me so much more particular about preparation of my argument, speaking in the mirror. Before, they always tell you to practice your arguments in the mirror. And that goes for more than when you're advocating for a jury. One of the other things I heard you say when you came on before is advocating for yourself. We'll get into it later, but I also had to fight and claw my way into law school because I also was put on that review board before you pass the character and fitness test. I got called up to Tallahassee and put before the review board because I had some issues in my past that they thought would prevent me from being a good attorney. This was, again, 100 years ago. This was 2004 that this happened, but it feels like yesterday. I still get chills to think about sitting in front of a panel of 5 people and having to fight for my life, having to advocate and say, please, I promise I'm changed. Give me the opportunity to show you that I can turn my life around. I can be a different person. Let me be a lawyer.
Right. And I mean, this is amazing. And I hope you guys are able to get all this tea, right? All of this tea, right? Because the amazing thing when I think about it is like oftentimes the biggest challenge is ourselves.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's like I heard this morning I heard someone say, I was hearing Mike Tomlin, he made a quote, he said, a lot of people say they're willing, but are they able? He said, a lot of people say they're able, but they're not willing.
Yeah.
He was saying, are you willing to deal with the sacrifices? Are you willing to overcome it? Are you willing to say it's gonna be hard? Oh, it's gonna hurt.
Yep.
It's gonna be some tough nights. Yeah, you're gonna cry. Yeah, you may fail.
Wow.
But are you gonna be able to push through? And I think the thing that's amazing is you being able to share your story, sis. I mean, you said more. I want more questions I want to ask. Is I hope you guys out there are able to see yourself in these stories and see that literally there is no barrier too high. There is no challenge. A test is not going to be what breaks you. You really can't lose if you don't quit. And so one of the things I really just want to get to the tea of the story, because there's a lot of people out there. I think oftentimes on our journeys, right, we have created these mirages of perfection that I don't know. We've all created it where it's like, this is what a lawyer is. This is what they do. And for some reason, it takes us a while for us to realize, well, that mirage is non-existent. And really, we should just be looking in the mirror. But a lot of times, it's just being able to overcome our own issues of self-doubt from either where we come from our humble beginnings, either one saying that we had challenges. Because one of the things I tell people, I was like, really, the challenges are the best things ever because they kind of propel you to move forward. Because and I think also the value of you kind of creating your support system. And so when you started, you went out to Mercer. I mean, you out in the South still, you know how we roll. But nevertheless, you started to build on your lawyer network. And it's so amazing when you're able to get blessed with professors who are like, hey, I'm here to tell you something, to help you, not to tear you down, but to help you.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes one of the challenges people have is learning how to be able to receive help. How did you go about with that process of being able to say, okay, I'm not offended, thank you.
Right.
Because sometimes law school is a very vulnerable place because
it is. It's where you're realizing, for some people, for myself, for the first time, that you're not as smart as you think you are. And that there's plenty of people your age, younger than you, or around the same age, that are doing significantly better. So when I got to law school, my classmates completely ran the gamut. But one of the people that was in my class was a guy who was my same age, and he owned 2 Zaxby's franchises. So it fascinated me to meet a guy that was my age who already owned 2 franchises. And I felt like I was struggling with that FAFSA application. Like, I just barely got in here. And this guy's eating, I was really, that so shook me because it made me feel like I was so much further behind than I should have been. So it made me already come in there feeling like, oh, he must know a ton of business law. He must know a ton of people. And then you meet the people who are, and again, this fascinated me, 4th and 5th generation attorneys.
Yes.
So I'm 1st generation American. My dad's from Jamaica. My mom's from Trinidad. So already the application to get into law school, I was the first lawyer in my family. I was the first college graduate in my family. I already was sort of blazing the trail there, right? I didn't have anyone to follow. So meeting these people in my class who were 4th and 5th generation attorneys, I'm thinking, they basically held the door for you to get into law school. You have been in your father's firm. You grew up. You've been reading the law for all of your life. You've been learning about it. You know the judges already. And it worked out that way. These are people who graduated and walked themselves into clerkships, large firms, because they already had that connection and that access. And then as you get further along in your legal career, you'll realize it's like that all over. For the rest of your life, you're going to meet people who already have a tremendous head start on you, either inherently or externally. Whatever reason, they already have a massive head start on you. And that in no way diminishes what you came here to do and what you're able to do.
Can you say that again, please? Can you say that part? It does not diminish. Can you say that louder for the people in the back?
You will along your legal journey meet people who already have a tremendous head start on you. Again, either internally or externally, either something they earned or something they were given that they didn't earn. But that in no way diminishes what you're here to do and what you're able to do.
Wow. And I just think about that statement, and I just think about it, so many people who are navigating this space bar. And I think one of the things that's beautiful also is talk about how after you graduate from law school, now it's just like, okay, I said I wanted to be a lawyer at 10. All right, I passed the bar. Now what? So, I mean, it's amazing how that process works. So tell me about that experience, and how did you go about selecting the practice you're in right now?
Sure. Let me go a little bit back and talk about when you graduate and right before you take the
Oh, yeah,
bar.
we got the bar
Just
talk. That's right.
oh, you want to? Is that coming later? Because
Oh, no,
bar
no, no, no.
talk
You
is
got it. You got it, sis.
Bar talk is in and of itself. Again, I had a wonderful property professor who said to all of us, he said, your life is going to suck for the next 3 months. For the next 3 months, you're not going to see daylight. You're going to gain a tremendous amount of weight. You're not going to be going to the gym or sleeping regularly. You're not going to be talking to your family and friends. Your life is going to suck for the next 3 months. He said, but if you do it right, then your life will be amazing after that 3 months. So I was incredibly blessed. I took the bar in Georgia, July of 2008. My entire BALSA, Black Law Students Association, our entire class passed the Georgia bar on the first time. We didn't study together. We all studied in different, but we would randomly quiz each other when we ran into each other at the library. So one of my good girlfriends, she's at NASA in Alabama, and she's been there for about 15 years. But she would just come up to me in the library and say, did you know that there's a 99-year lease provision in the Georgia property is different and weird? And I'd say, yeah, I remember, I read that. Like it was just on the spot kind of quizzing constantly. And in Georgia, which is different from Florida. So in Florida, when you pass the bar, they put your number, your login number. In Georgia, they put your full name. So the entire state of Georgia can look up and see whether or not you pass the bar. So in the state of Georgia, getting that October 31st, 2008, opening the envelope or going online and seeing everyone's name going through. Did so-and-so pass? Yep, she's there. So-and-so? Yep, he's there. Now that also means if you didn't pass, I had some friends who were not in my BALSA class who didn't pass, and you would know, okay, so-and-so's name is not there. So that's a little unnerving. But that bar is, the bar, just know this, the LSAT has nothing to do with law school. Law school has nothing to do with the bar. The bar has nothing to do with practice.
Hold on. Say that again for the people out there.
Yeah, like the people. Well, I was listening to you when someone asked whether or not they should take the LSAT again, and I'm like, if you get into law school with your LSAT score and it's a decent enough law school, go forth and prosper. Stop wasting time, money, energy, effort on that test that is no indicator of aptitude in any regard. It is literally just a sort of a hazing ritual, if I can be frank. You just have to get past that in order to get to the next stage of life. So there's people who nailed the LSAT. There's people who got a perfect score on the LSAT. I'm in the same firm with those people. We practice together. It's absolutely no indication of your ability to practice law. And in fact, you'll realize very quickly in your first semester of law school, it has nothing to do with law school at all. They tell you, it teaches you to think like a lawyer, and you get there, you're like, this didn't do that at all. There's nothing in law school that is similar to the LSAT. It's completely different. But so post bar, you pass the bar or you don't pass the bar. If you don't pass the bar, you just have your Juris Doctorate, your JD. There are plenty of jobs that you can get with a JD. Some very well paying jobs that you can get with a JD. I know when I first came to Florida, so I'm licensed in the state of Georgia, and I came to Florida in end of 2012 because I took the 2013 February bar. So coming the end of 2012, and I say I need to find a job, I need to work. Florida doesn't have reciprocity with any other state in the country. Super important to know before law school that this is where you need a mentor. You need a mentor to say, Charise, Florida doesn't have reciprocity with any other state in the country. So you need to take the Florida bar first before you take any other state bar. If you want to be licensed in Florida at any time, take Florida first. And there was a program at my law school. I didn't know to sign up for it. I didn't know hear about it, but you could have paid $150 in your first semester to sign up for the Florida bar if you knew you were going to take it. I knew I was going to take it, never heard of the program. $150. When I went to sit for the Florida bar in 2013, it was $2,500. $150, $2,500. That's the difference of a mentor, of somebody saying, hand on the shoulder, you're doing it wrong. Georgia has reciprocity with plenty of states. So since I'm licensed in Georgia, I can wave into Alabama, South Carolina, Texas, plenty of other states, not Florida. So Florida, when I sat for the bar here, I had to take it from scratch as though I was a law student and had not been practicing for the last 5.5 years. Florida doesn't care. They were like, cute, from scratch, like I had just graduated law school. So you sit for the bar, take the bar, hopefully pass it on the first time. Either way, you need to be employed thereafter, right? So then after, it's just a matter of, are you applying for jobs with a JD after your name or an Esquire? So you pass the bar, you get sworn in, which is also a wonderful process. Find a judge that you love. Every judge loves to do it. I found a Black judge, the oldest Black judge in Tampa. So I wasn't even living in Tampa, but I was so impressed by this guy's resume. His name is Eric Meyer. I drove over there, asked if he could swear me in. I didn't know him, he didn't know me, but everyone is always so happy to see Black lawyers coming in because we're still only 4% of the profession, and that's countrywide. So we're still always really happy to welcome in lawyers, which is why it's a great, easy, shouldn't say easy, but it's always not very difficult to find Black attorney mentors who will, if nothing else, tell you where to be when. I'm great at that. I'm great for calling you up and being like, have you heard about this event? Hey, you need to be there, get there. Pass the bar, get sworn in, find a job. So I completely fell into this area of law. I tried criminal, that was where I started, and I didn't care for it. I didn't like it. I don't like any industry of practice where everyone is just angry and terribly rude all the time.
I like my peace, right? I don't need anybody else's drama.
And one of the things that I am doing in my year as presidency is I'm having private attorneys, and that's attorneys that work at large law firms or in the private sector, because they tend to be higher paid than attorneys who work in the public sector, which includes public defenders, state attorneys. Now, in the state of Florida, that includes, for example, Miami-Dade County. Miami-Dade County attorneys are very well paid because the county attorney office, as well as the city attorney's office, tend to pay very well. But our state attorney's office, our public defenders still don't pay any money. So one of the things I wanted to do as presidency is have essentially the higher paying attorneys adopt in some way the lower paying attorneys, because we 100% need people to stay as state attorneys, as public defenders. It's the most important area of law. Juvenile attorneys who represent children, guardian ad litems, juvenile practice, we need these people. And you can't blame anyone for leaving these practices because they make no money there. Some of these positions pay $50,000 a year. Do you know what $50,000 a year in Miami is? It's broke. It really is. Like, you can't afford to do anything in Miami making $50,000 a year. Certainly not raise and sustain a family if you have to, support more than yourself. So, for example, we have an event coming up in September that a guy on my board is putting together. He's a personal injury attorney. He makes great money as a personal injury attorney. So he is sponsoring and paying the admission fee for all of the public defenders and state attorneys who come to the event. And then he's giving out scholarships. So he's doing a fundraiser where plenty of us private attorneys are putting in money to give a scholarship. We're trying to do more than one scholarship to a public defender and a state attorney, because we all know how critical these positions are. We all know how life-changing these positions are, but there's no real push on the part of our legislator, frankly, to change that, to make it so that why can't public defenders and state attorneys make six figures like the rest of us. They should be able to. What they do is so much more important than what I do. Now I'll get to what I do. So I work for an insurance company. I'm in-house counsel for an insurance company, and I absolutely love it. Don't tell my job that. I absolutely love what I do. But among the many things that I do, and it is many, I have designated portfolios for particular clients, and I represent them in everything. So one of my clients is Hilton. So Hilton in South Florida, everything that comes up related to the Hilton, if there's a premises issue, if they have a building code compliance, that's my most recent one. The employee contract disputes, employees file workers' comp claims, anything that comes up with the Hilton, they have the option to send it to outside counsel, where they can hire any of the fine law firms throughout Miami, or they can send it to their insurance. They're figuring we already pay insurance. The insurance company has a lawyer that's assigned to us specifically. That's me. They'll say, send it to Charise, let her figure it out. If she can't figure it out, we'll send it to outside counsel. And of course, because I want them to remain with Zurich as their insured, Charise will figure it out.
Now I want to wind back and ask a couple of questions, because getting into that space where you were able to get that relationship with the Fortune 500 company,
Yeah.
How did that happen? Because I think oftentimes people say, well, wow, she did that. How? How did that happen?
Listen,
what you're doing is unprecedented, sis.
do you all know that the general counsel for Starbucks is a Black woman? The general counsel for Disney is a Black woman. There are Black women, Black men who are in the legal fields, legal spaces of some of the biggest companies in this country. Amazon, Black woman general counsel. 100%. Facebook, Black woman general counsel. 100%. The positions are there and available. It is 100% who you know. You got to get outside. You got to meet people. People need to know who you are. That's how I got my job. I got my job because a friend of a friend heard that I was looking for an in-house position and said, hey, I'm going to tell this girl that you're looking. I think her job is hiring. Introduced me to her. She walked me into her boss and said, I know she's a great attorney. I'm sure we'll get to the reputation conversation, but that goes without saying, because that exists in every other capacity, every other area of your life. Your reputation should precede you in a great way. Everyone should know you as, hey, if Charise said that she's going to do it, it's done. Charise is a great lawyer. She's a hard worker, that kind of thing. So asking someone who only knew a friend of mine, who knew a friend of mine, to introduce me to her boss, she was comfortable doing, because my reputation preceded me in that way, that they're like, oh yeah, she's good people. I know she's a good lawyer. I came in for the interview. My boss, my then boss, he's since retired, was wearing corduroy pants, and I'm not particularly formal. So I was like, this is the place for me.
And I just want you guys, and this applies to everybody, wherever you are on your journey. She said, get outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so many, and I tell people and since we can both attest to this, there used to be a time where we used to be like, well, we can't get into that door.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was born with a plastic spoon, not a silver spoon.
Yeah.
It's not possible. But we're now in a day and age where literally there's so many amazing things going on. Like, for example, with the Bar Association, so many of these events and activities. I love, like, one of the things I absolutely love, during the pandemic, it forced organizations to utilize virtual Zooms as ways to contact and communicate. And that opened up the floodgates to so many different relationships. And I want you guys, she just told you how to make moves and how to make things happen. I mean, literally got sworn in. Hey, well, what's going on, Judge? Let's link up.
Exactly. Don't ever. Listen, that was in my lifetime, where we felt like not only were you a new lawyer, but you're a new Black lawyer. And God help you if you're a new Black lawyer in a city, in a state where you didn't go to school, you didn't grow up, so no one knows you. It's just you out there plugging yourself. And that happens. That's not just the start of your legal career. That's going to happen to you every day, every time. Even now, I'll go speak at conferences in different cities. I was in Vegas last month for the National Bar Association. And often there, it's the same thing. You're asked to speak, you're asked to step up for whatever reason, and you're in a foreign city where nobody knows you. And once again, you're just that small black lawyer that nobody knows. It's a constant theme that at some point you have to say, you know what? That's true. I am a small black lawyer that nobody knows. But guess what? I have something to say, and more importantly, you have something that I need. And that should be the impetus, if nothing else, to push you to run up on however big anybody is, grab them and say, what can I do? How can I get involved? Here's what I want to do. Here's what I need you to do. And you'll be ridiculously surprised the number of people that say, okay, all right, and give you something to do.
And the crazy thing I try to tell people about this, because I mean, literally, that's how I reached out to you, is literally nobody's ever going to be like, heck no, get out my face. How dare you talk to me? Who are you? But in our heads, we have this fear
Right.
of embarrassment. And what I really try to reach out to people and say, is that there's so many opportunities out there.
Yeah.
So many opportunities out there. And if we are literally just, and maybe that one person that you meet doesn't work, but what if that other one does? And literally I feel like on your lawyer journey, you learn very quick. It's about relationships.
Yeah.
It's not about I mean, of course you have to be capable. Of course you have to be confident. You have to be,
right.
But trust and character become two of the biggest hallmarks. Are they a hard worker? Are they a good person? Because if you're not a good person, that reputation goes. I don't know if that's salvageable or not. I haven't seen it be salvaged yet, but
That's a great point. That it's a lot. I can't say that I can't say that I've seen anybody come back from where you have a reputation for intentionally, not a misstep, not, something you did erroneously, but intentionally being a bad person. Yeah, that's hard to come back from.
And the thing that's really what I love, and I think one of the things you touched on, and I'm really hoping you guys out there could really get this, is it's like, I feel like it almost like its own type of fraternity or sorority, where
Yeah,
it's just like,
truly.
wow, you just entered into, oh, well, here's my number, here's my information. And that just opens up so many doors. And I just want to also ask you, it's just like, when you look back now, because one of the things I like to close is I like to ask you guys, because right now, let's be honest, people that just took the bar, it's
Yeah,
happening right now, right? We
yeah,
got that may have had a horrible day, because them days, whew. Or we have somebody that may have gotten rejected, or somebody that's thinking about quitting. I know it's Wednesday and we miss church, but I always like to give you guys the final word to provide a word of encouragement to anybody wherever they are on their journey.
absolutely. So, like I said, when I sat for the Florida bar, I sat next to a girl who said she was taking it for the fifth time. And it wasn't just that she was taking it for the fifth time. She said her employer had told her that if she didn't pass it this time, they were going to have to let her go. And I thought, what incredible stress to be taking the bar under, feeling like it was literally life or death. That is an extremely rare circumstance. For the most part, you take the bar. If you pass, if you don't pass, you still have a JD. And like I said, there are still plenty of six-figure compliance jobs that are ready, willing, and available to have you come in and work as a JD until you pass. And if you want to go do something else, if you want to actually get in a courtroom, if you want to be a judge, if you want to do the physical labor of practice with an esquire, be encouraged. Remember that life is cyclical, right? It just sucks right now. Like my property professor said, it's going to suck for 3 months. And it did. That 3 months was hell. I didn't sleep. I didn't go to the gym. I was miserable. My skin broke out all the time because I was just living on whatever I could find in between the couch cushion. But then life gets so much better if you do it the right way. If you do the studying, you do the planning, and you pass, life gets so much better because with an esquire or a bar license, you can go into any industry, anything you want to do. And then, of course, last, I got to tell you again to get outside. The people that I've met in the month and a half that I've had this position as bar president, it's it's a voluntary position, right? I'm not governor. I can't make law. I can't do anything significant to change. But the people that I've met, the connections I've made, the opportunities that have come to me are absolutely out of this world. I can't talk about some of them yet, but I'll tell you when to tune in because some of them are really cool. And I know that 10-year-old Charise, wondering if anybody noticed that she spoke with a lisp, never thought this was going to happen this way. And it's cool that it did.
Wow, she with the killer closing, y'all. And Charise, thank you so much for joining us. And for you guys out there, wherever you are on your journey, continue to fight. You got a whole tribe of people supporting for you,
Oh,
praying, for you, rooting for you. And Charise said, hey, holler at her, hit her up if you have questions. Get outside,
yeah,
yo. Get outside. That's the thing for the night show.
it really
But,
is.
but continue to fight for your dreams. We're praying for you, rooting for you until next Wednesday at 8. And Charise, again, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.